It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome back to another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders. Alan, you said yesterday was like going back, first day of school, seeing all your friends again, saying what's going on, seeing what you've missed from, since the spring to the summer. Is today the second day then, or we just know? Is it only the first day back and then it's just status quo?
Well, I think for me anyway, when you've done this a while, you get a little bit of excitement and then you remember how much work this is and especially yesterday. So Mike Tomlin was 2 hours behind schedule for his press conference. It was a 16-hour day. And it's oh yeah, I remember this. This is hard. This sucks. It doesn't suck to do it, but it's a grind. And so, yeah, I'm just back in it, man. I enjoy getting the enthusiasm beaten out of me in the first 24 hours. And now I'm just back to me. It's good.
Well, so today was the first day with fans being able to actually attend the practice, though they practice in front of the fans and stuff like that. So did it feel different in that way? Is it almost like a second first day because of that, or no? Do you get excited about seeing the fans there too?
Yeah, and somebody yelled my name from the stands, so shout out to whoever that was. Hope it was a podcast listener. But that's cool. I don't know. I don't necessarily get excited about the fans being there. I get excited about watching football. I think that's the thing. And then you remember that this is just no pads, football and shorts, just like I was watching all spring. And it's I'll tell you the thing I'm really excited about is being able to tell you all about everything I see on the field, because at OTAs and minicamp, we're not allowed to talk about stuff that we can't get players to confirm. And so it's difficult. It's a lot easier for me to talk about what I see on the field at practice at training camp and just let it all rip. So that's the fun part for me.
Okay. Well, in that case, let's get into it. We saw and then didn't see Russell Willson. Came down, like he normally would, actually signed some autographs coming onto the field, goes through the little walkthrough and stuff. But then it's Justin Fields that gets QB1 reps through the team drills and stuff like that. So, what do we make of this? And what did you see? And then we can carry that conversation into what we saw from Justin Fields today.
Yeah, so apparently Russell Wilson just went a little bit too hard in the run test yesterday. I don't know. Woke up this morning with some calf tightness. I'll be honest. I was told that he is going for an MRI, so I don't want to minimize the injury, but I saw him jogging around. He's not wearing a pad or a wrap or anything. He looks fine. I'm not 100% sure that this isn't just Mike Tomlin messing with us about trying to figure out what he's doing at quarterback. I think Russell Wilson is fine. But Justin Fields gets the nod to be the first team quarterback today. And I think we're going to see both of those guys work with the first team throughout training camp. I think there are some people out there that have convinced themselves this isn't going to be a real quarterback competition. I think that's crap. I think it's going to be a real quarterback competition. I think you're going to see a whole lot of back and forth about who the first team quarterback is.
I think, today for people that want it to be Justin Fields, today certainly didn't do anything to pour cold water on that. Him being the first guy to go, seeing some flashy clips come out as well on social media. But, on a play-by-play basis, not just, the beautiful deep ball that he hit to Van Jefferson. What did you see from Justin Fields today? Obviously, we prefaced by saying a couple times already, no pads yet or anything like that. On that same, there was another play where it was a would-be sack, but he spins out and hits somebody else, makes a nice play afterwards, but he wouldn't have even gotten to that point if it were in a game setting. So what did you see from Justin Fields today in that regard?
Yeah, honestly, I think if you're looking at the clips on social media and you're getting excited about Justin Fields' performance today, you're getting the wrong idea. I thought it was pretty bad. I was not impressed at all by Justin Fields out there. The first play is the completion to Pat Freiermuth, and after that, it was him and Najee Harris weren't on the same page about where Najee was supposed to be lined up, had to call a timeout. Then, he got sacked by DeShon Elliott. I don't care what happens after. I'm calling it a sack. There was he got sacked by Alex Highsmith later. Again, they can't touch the quarterback, but if you get close, if Alex Highsmith is getting 2 paws on you, you're sacked 90% of the time. There was he bounced an in-breaking route to George Pickens. I just didn't think he looked very sharp. And look, it's the first day of training camp, so I mean he deserves plenty of grace. But like that long ball to Van Jefferson is one, first of all, in a 7-on-7 period, and second of all, Dante Jackson fell down, so he was just uncovered. Like, I mean, great that you took the free one. He also got Quez Watkins on a busted coverage in like the second team period for a big gain. Other than that, there wasn't a whole lot to feel happy about. He threw a nice ball down the sideline to George Pickens, and Pickens, I would say, catches that like 60% of the time, while normal human beings catch it like 30% of the time. But he wasn't able to come down with that one. But I didn't think Justin Fields was very good. I mean, not that like it was bad, but like I think if you're getting Fields over like 3-second social media clips, you're probably getting the wrong idea.
Well, and I'm glad that you added that context. I think it's necessary because that is what we see. You know, for a lot of people that aren't at training camp, that's the only thing that we get is those bits on social media. And they typically are highlights. You know, nobody's going to show the lowlights of them. So I think that there's still obviously reason to be excited about that because it shows you what he can do. But obviously, like that's why I asked on a down-to-down basis what we were looking at there. But, you know, you mentioned, and I think that we even kind of set the table for training camp by saying we thought the offense would be slower out of the gate than the defense would be. The defense would be ahead. And this was assuming that we would see Russell Willson with the first-team offense anyway. So, I mean, that kind of tracks with the way that day one went, right?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting the defense to be better, so I wasn't surprised by it. I thought DeShon Elliott had a really nice day. I thought Dante Jackson, other than that one trip, he had a really nice day. Had a couple of PBUs, a lot of DBs getting their hands on the ball. Ryan Watts forced a fumble. I thought there was a lot of good things from the defense. They were playing really, really well. I thought the offense was okay. In some stretches, and again, no pads, not a lot of running game. It was almost all pass stuff today, which is not, again, like what are our expectations for this passing offense? Like not like minimal, right? I mean, like we're not expecting the Steelers, even if the Steelers have one of the better offenses that we can think of, we're not expecting it to be them throwing the ball to get down the field on a drive in and drive out basis. They're going to run the ball. And so not really running the ball today, not really very surprised that the defense has a big advantage in that scenario. I did think Pat Freiermuth looked really good of the guys on offense. I thought he had a couple of nice catches, was super fired up. He had a great spring, and I think that's continued so far. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, I only saw them. They only got a couple carries each, but they both looked great as well. So I think if that's where and that one play where DeShon Elliott absolutely would have sacked Justin Fields, he ends up throwing it to Jalen Warren. He runs down the sideline and looks like a good play, but it was a nice run after the catch anyway. We can give Jalen Warren credit for that, even if the throw would have never, ever in a million years gotten off. So, yeah, I mean, I think there's the offense was in a bad spot today. So it's not surprising that the defense looked a lot better.
You mentioned maybe Pat being the guy to stand out amongst the struggling offense on day one. So somebody put out there, maybe it was multiple people, talk about the way that they were moving him around, though. Can you speak to that at all?
Yeah, flexed him out. Some what I consider like more meaningful motion, where it's at snap motion or he's they're just making him a little bit harder to find, I think is good. Trying to take a little bit of that pressure off George, I think is good. So, yeah, moving him around, flexing him out a little bit. A bunch of 12 and 13 personnel, like multiple tight end looks. Plenty of Darnell Washington, but also plenty of Connor Hayward, plenty of Michael Pruitt. Saw a ton of Rodney Williams today, too. There was a lot of tight endness happening today. Not so much, I would say, like the traditional slot receiver stuff. Like Calvin Austin was out there. He was kind of doing more like outside receiver stuff. Didn't see a lot from Roman Willson. I'm not even sure he caught a pass, I'll be honest. There was one where he was wide open. Cal Allen was running for his life from DeMarvin Leal and just didn't see him. But I think it, like, in general, I would say, like, stock up for the backup tight ends and stock down for the slot wide receivers if I'm basing it on the workload of one practice.
Also, fullback usage.
Oh, yeah.
How much of that did
Connor
you see
Hayward was in the backfield a good bit. Jack Coletto caught a ball out of the backfield. Also, he's the one and only true fullback on the roster. You probably never heard of that name before. So, yeah, it does look like they are going to use a fullback. Pistol, a whole bunch of pistol formation. That's where the quarterback is not under center, but the running back is still straight behind him. So, yeah, a good bit of that. That's an old Arthur Smith standby. Looks like it's still going to be a big part of what they're going to do. And, yeah.
Anything today? Oh, I do want to say, I know for sure one huge Jack Coletto fan, watcher of the show, Jake Wade. He's mentioned him multiple times in the comments, so shout out to him for bringing his name up and getting a shout out there. Anything surprise you about what you saw from the offense today at all? Whether it was like some type of formation, some type of concept that they were doing, the alignment of anybody. Did you see anything from the offense today that maybe stuck out?
No, there was nothing that really surprised me. And again, I've been watching this offense for a month and a half now, so things are new maybe to the public, but less new to me. I don't think I saw anything that really surprised me compared to what we saw at OTAs and minicamp. It looks pretty similar. The amount that John Rice Plumlee got reps actually is a little bit surprising. We were talking about maybe they were done with him at quarterback because they brought in Ben DiNucci for a free agent visit. Sure doesn't look like it. He had more reps today than Chris Oladokin did his entire training camp, I think. Obviously, part of that is Russ being unavailable today, but it's not like Justin Fields and Cal Allen couldn't just rotate every other if they didn't trust the number 4 guy. So seems like they do. And they want to get a look at him. I didn't think he was great, but he was fine. It was okay. He got a pass batted down. He's a short guy. I think that's going to be an issue for him. Braden Fehoko, Big Oos, got up and got one.
There we go. So not surprising, but I would say completely expected by us, and it did come to fruition. The vets being ahead of the rookies on the offensive line to start day one.
Yeah, pretty much exactly what I thought we were going to see, which was you start with Dan Moore at left tackle, you start with Nate Herbig at center, you start with Broderick Jones at right tackle, and then as you move through things, I think we'll see Broderick Jones flip over to the left side at times and let Troy Fautanu play with the first teamers at right. But that second team offensive line was Mason McCormick and Zach Frazier and Troy Fautanu all on the second team. Pretty much what I expected to see there. Not really any surprises. Zach Frazier had a bad snap to Kyle Allen in the first team period. Got to clean those up if he wants to pass Nate Herbig. I mean, Nate Herbig is what I would call like a natural center. So if you want to pass him, you better be perfect on the snaps. So that's something he's going to have to clean up. But I think the defense did end up getting their hands on that one too. It was in a shotgun, and Allen kind of went low to get it, and then he was supposed to have a mesh with the running back, and they ran into each other, and the ball ended up on the ground. Nothing. I mean, without pads, I'm not going to tell you how Troy Fautanu looked. He looked like a 6'2" Samoan American offensive lineman. That's all I got.
All right, sounds great. He's ready then. On the defensive side of the ball, we were curious to see how the slot cornerback would shake out originally because Tomlin mentioned in terms of Cam Sutton, like nothing would really be different there. So we thought maybe he would be the guy operating from the jump with the number ones, but that wasn't the case today.
No, the first extra DB off the field was, I believe someone on the show predicted this outcome, like maybe earlier this week. Do you remember who that was? I can't.
Yeah. He's on the screen right now.
It was me, right? Yeah, I said DeShon Elliott was going to be the slot corner, and he was. The first extra DB off the bench was Damontae Kazee, moving DeShon Elliott into the box. They played a lot of that heavy nickel. I do expect them to play a lot of that heavy nickel with Elliott. Elliott was on Pat Freiermuth most of the day, So like that's kind of your look. I think that you're going to see. And then when they did go to a traditional nickel, it was Beanie Bishop first, which I was a little bit surprised by that. I expected that we would see Cam Sutton go out there first. And I'll be honest, I would have thought that we might see Josiah Scott before we saw Beanie Bishop. They really like this young guy from West Virginia. I think he's going to make the team. I feel really good about it. I think he might start as the nickel while at least the pass down nickel while Cam Sutton's out. And man, that's a more aggressive tact than I would have taken, and I think it shows a lot of confidence in a guy who's an undrafted free agent.
Yeah, that's what I would just say, the vote of confidence, and just like, because we're talking the same sentiment on the offensive line, where like they want their rookies to earn it over the vets, but like look at the trust that there already is with a guy like Beanie Bishop who wasn't even drafted. Probably should have been, but wasn't even drafted.
Yeah, I do think part of that is the difference between having had the ability to really evaluate some cornerback play from OTAs and minicamp at a different level than you can evaluate offensive line play. Those guys really haven't done anything yet. So hard to make that kind of move. Linebacker, we talked a little bit about how much is Peyton Willson going to play. Again, like I actually think we saw more Patrick Queen and Landon Roberts than I expected today. Those guys played a good bit. TJ Watt talked yesterday about the importance of kind of gelling as a front seven with Patrick Queen in there. Those guys do a lot of like kind of their own thing at times where like, I saw this and I just did it. So maybe they're just trying to make sure they're all on the same page, but pretty heavy dose of Queen and Roberts today. Still, Peyton Willson finds a way to show up, man. He's super athletic, getting sideline to sideline. He just flashes. So, yeah, you look good.
I wanted to ask, so from a football perspective, first and foremost here, Cam Hayward, did he do much today?
No.
Because I was curious.
I mean, he was out there. He did things, but he didn't do much.
Coming back from the injury that he was, obviously he played at the end of last year, but was clearly not himself. And
had another surgery over the offseason. So
like how different he looks now.
He's healthy. They're just not pushing him right now. So
sure. Were you part of the group that talked to him in the scrum afterwards?
Yeah.
Okay. Just curious as your remarks in terms of what he had to say about, I don't know that it's anything we already didn't know, but his contract situation.
Yeah. I mean, he basically said like, I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to, I don't want to get my hopes up by talking about whether he thinks it's going to happen or not. He obviously said reiterated he wants to play 2 more years after this one. He wants to be in Pittsburgh. And Omar Khan said that he thinks Cam Hayward's going to be a Steeler for life. So, like I've said all along, I think this is a deal that'll get done. I think it's understandable that the Steelers want to wait and see exactly what their salary cap is. Like this could be a deal that happens the Tuesday after Labor Day, where like, okay, here's everything else we did. The last piece of the puzzle can be Cam Hayward's contract for the Steelers. I do think that could be how this plays out, but I still he may not want to get his hopes up. I think he should have his hopes up. I think they're going to be able to get a deal done.
I was going to ask where your stance was on this present day. So you kind of answered that, because I feel like, as we get more info, things should change week to week, if not day to day, in terms of how we feel about it. So I was curious, present day, sitting here right now, where you were at with that, but you kind of just answered that. And maybe does the way Omar talked about it, make you feel any differently towards that?
Yeah, I'm more confident that it's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, Omar doesn't like to say much. So if he's going to say that, yeah, I feel like it's going to happen.
Omar did speak today as well. I kind of didn't have that on my agenda because I had forgotten that it even happened, because I was just thinking about the practice itself. But other than the Cam stuff, was there anything to take away from what Omar said?
They're not trading for Brandon Ayuk or Cortland Sutton. Or
there we go. Well,
anybody else
Sutton,
that's expensive.
They just have his contract readjusted a little bit too by the Broncos today.
Yeah. I mean, he just said nothing is happening, that they're not even in conversations at the current moment. So I'm sure that'll change as we get into training camp and some teams sort out their pecking orders and find guys that they don't need, but nothing going on at the current moment in terms of adding a wide receiver.
And I don't know. This goes back to how I've kind of felt about it for a long time, but I just don't think it's like a player of that vein that we're talking about anymore anyway. Like, I think you're looking at somebody that is, cut from a deeper roster at that position, like a fringe guy, who's still an NFL player. Just, like look at the Texans who have like 8 NFL
Yeah,
quality
we've talked
receivers right
about
now.
like some of those guys. We talked about Traylon Burks a lot the other day. Mechie and Brown from Houston. We've talked about and Woods also. We talked about all those guys as potential options. I think there are a number of other guys around the league that could fit into that mold as well if they're really looking. So,
okay. And there was nothing else from the Omar was what, like 20-ish minutes though, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he just said he doesn't like to say much, so
yeah, Omar,
not much to take away.
Omar doesn't say much. Yeah, really. I mean, that's kind of all I got from that.
There you go. All right. So then back to the practice stuff. Was there anything else that stuck out? Obviously, you mentioned nothing really surprised you from the offensive side about what you saw. Was there anything other than obviously we talked about the slot corner position, although not a surprise to you? You said it would be DeShon Elliott at slot that stuck out to you.
Yeah, I thought DeMarvin Leal looked really good. One of his better practices.
Yeah, I saw.
He was all over the place. He needs that, man. This is crucial for him with Dean Lowry out. Cam not getting a lot of reps. Larry not getting a lot of reps because those guys are older. There's as many as DeMarvin Leal can handle, and I thought he was really, really good today. Really, honestly, like pushing people around and finding like showing that athleticism. As a guy who was like an edge rusher in college, has moved to defensive line. I'm not sure how many times we've seen the explosiveness that he does possess out on the field. I think he really showed it off today. Thought he looked really good. Nick Herbig had a TFL on a run play, but he looked solid. Mentioned Jackson. Yeah, I thought he was really, really good. I don't think the ball went to Joey Porter's side of the field one time all day. I
didn't see a clip. Yeah, where
I think he was just the demilitarized zone over there. Saw some. I thought Chris Watts looked pretty good. He played mostly free safety, but he stripped Connor Hayward, and David Perales recovered it on a nice play. Hayward made a juke and like cut back and like honestly kind of ankle broke someone, but then Watts came up from behind and got the ball out. Really nice hustle play. And those were the only 2 turnovers, that and the fumbled snap, I believe.
Okay.
I mean, other than that, I think that's pretty much all I got from just taken away from practice anyway.
You mentioned Nick Herbig briefly there because of attack for loss. I wanted to bring up there, like obviously again, just one practice, not in pads, but that's another spot where you are looking for somebody to emerge at least as that 4th edge rusher. So not necessarily Herbig himself, although obviously you would need to see a year 2 leap. He needs to be the primary guy to give Highsmith and Watt breathers. But, like the Jeremiah Moons, David Peraleses of the world competing for that 4th spot.
I'll tell you where I noticed those guys is Jeremiah Moon was in like every special teams period. So I think that's a pretty good sign for him. And Perales was out there some too. Don't get me wrong, but if Jeremiah Moon is going to be an all phases special teamer, I think that moves him to the front of the list for that job in my mind.
Was curious how much like special team stuff we would even see on day 1. So like what exactly was taking place in those
bunch
portions?
Of punt, not a whole lot of kickoff yet, but bunch of punt. Actually, I'm not sure. Like I was doing the practice participation. I was like, did Boswell do anything today? I'm not 100% sure he did anything. I'm not sure Matthew Wright did anything either. Like it was just a day where kicking was not on the docket. And
did Cam Johnson get the chance to boom any?
He did. He looked good. So
okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything specific that I have a question about regarding practice at this point, or if you have anything else, obviously. From either side of the ball.
So I talked to a couple of people after practice, talked to Pat Freiermuth. He talked about his contract situation, said he has faith in his agent, letting that process play out. Again, I think a lot of reason for optimism there. Talked to Keanu Benton, who we actually talked about this on here, I think, earlier. I wrote a story about it, but I was kind of the only one that did back in OTAs about him losing weight. So he confirmed that he is down to 300. he was at 309 at the combine last year and was heavier than that during the season last year. So he said he ended up losing like 10 to 15 pounds to get to 300. And he said he feels like he will gain weight over the course of the season, but he wants to start. So he's starting 9 pounds lighter than he started last year, basically. It looks like more than 9 pounds. He looks great. Like I don't know.
And
you can change your body and lose weight and get in better shape without losing pounds. And I feel like that's some of what he might have done.
Now, would he be doing that because of the team, like the team wanting him to do so? And if so, is that like a role thing? Like they want to move him out more?
No, he said he wanted to do it. And I don't think the team needs him to be skinny. Obviously, he was going to play nose tackle, but like they haven't really been playing with a true nose tackle in a long time. They also just don't play very much base defense, so it kind of doesn't really matter. His position is that 4-3 front, the 4-man front defensive tackle. When we went back and sort of broke down the positions there, like he's lined up over the guard more than he's lined up over the center. He is a defensive tackle, and so I just think that's what they're going to do with him. He wants to get more sacks. He feels like he was close on a lot last year, and that he just needed to be a little bit more explosive. He needed to be a little bit more confident in what he was seeing and understand when he needed to go for it. But he feels like there's a lot more sacks out there for him this year, and he expects to be a regular part of the rotation in that sub-package D-tackle role along with Cam and Larry Ogunjobi.
Interesting. Yeah, I just didn't know like if that was because of the team saying that they wanted him to do so because they were going to like try to move him around more, or what exactly was going on there. So that's interesting. Okay, but that's good. Anything else that you from talking to anybody today?
I don't think so. Talked to Joey Porter, talked to Calvin Austin, talked to somebody else. Oh, Benton. Yeah, I think that was about it. Yeah, it was a solid first day, man. Had a lot of good stuff going on.
Nothing from, I mean, Calvin very much, like he was pretty vocal in the spring about hearing the chatter about the team needing to add a receiver. They still haven't. So at least as of right now, vote of confidence in that group that is there. I mean, did that anything said regarding that, like him largely expected to have an expanded role within this offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think Calvin Austin is in line for that job, man. Like, I think he's got it. Like, I think he did it. I think he set out to say, like, I want to prove that they don't need another guy. And like, I kind of think he did it. Like he was the best wide receiver compared to expectations throughout the spring. He has earned like the starting job right now. Like he's earned it. And I think he's going to continue to earn it. And yeah, I mean, he seems confident. Like he's a quiet guy. But there's some confidence there too.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm excited to see how it continues to play out. I'm excited to see it for myself over the weekend. Alan, anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. Well, other than that, Alan, you know the drill. Tell the people they can find you.
At @Saunders_PGH, PGH Steelers Now, SteelersNow.com.
There we go. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell here. Hit us in the comments with your thoughts on anything that we talked about, questions for a future episode, all that good stuff. Follow us on TikTok, Steelers Afternoon Drive, 90-second short form clips of the podcast. Also, if you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from, be sure to leave us a 5-star review and subscribe over there. Find me everywhere at Zachary Smith PGH. For Alan Saunders and myself, thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.